I recently went out to watch the Backrooms with a bunch of friends, which I'm sure many of you did as well. But did you guys also notice just how packed those cinemas were? I haven't seen a cinema that full since Endgame? When people discuss what's killing cinemas, many people point to COVID, which is completely understandable and definitely part of the reason cinemas were dying. But I think more than that, the endless barrage of similar movies being the only things people went to the cinema for, training audiences that some experiences weren't worth going to the cinema for, was just as destructive. With superhero movies losing a lot of their popularity, things were looking pretty bleak. But look at us now. I love the cinema, I always have, but it isn't as universally loved as I would hope. The biggest plague affecting the cinema right now is some teenagers who grew up during COVID never really learned cinema etiquette and talk or go on their phones during movies. But when the cinema is full and there are people everywhere, you can rely on your fellow moviegoer to shush or scold them. Which sounds really lame, especially for the person being shushed, but it truly is a benefit to everyone, including them, because if they just pay attention, they'll enjoy the movie more. But I noticed something else at the cinema. For the first time in a long time, the cinema truly felt like a community experience again. What do I mean by that, and why is that important? Well, I can't think of a single time in human history where humans wouldn't gather to share stories. We can almost certainly believe that, perhaps even before we could speak, we were sharing stories. Cavemen around a fire, ancient oral histories, modern theatre, and since the 20th century, we've all gathered at the cinema. The cinema as a community experience is a weird one to wrap our heads around. We're gathered in a room with strangers where we all silently watch the same large screen. It doesn't seem like a place to be interconnected with the rest of humanity. The special connective tissue is in the shifting energy around us, the audible reactions of our fellow cinema goers, and the unspoken truth that we've all just witnessed and learned from the same story as the others who sat with us. I think horror movies have survived the ups and downs of the cinema business because it's in these movies where this connective tissue is the most clear and vibrant. In our screening, you could actually hear as people in the audience would see something hidden in the frame. You could hear the sighs as we surfaced out of particularly tense scenes. We have people around us, and that activates our monkey brain to remind us that we're all in this together. This is true for comedies as well. Jokes are funnier when other people are also laughing. That's why they had laugh tracks in sitcoms for so long, because without it, it just felt wrong. I tried looking for research into how viewing a movie in a packed cinema affects us versus watching it on its own. But aside from what I learned about laugh tracks, I couldn't find much research into it. Most of the attention is put on the effect of the media on the audience, but not about the audience itself, which is what I was more interested in. That is, until I found this. This is Julian Hanich's book, The Audience Effect. It provides a perspective on just about every lingering thought I had about the audience since leaving that cinema. But I don't want this video to be too long, so I'll just go through the most important takeaways that make me more optimistic for the persistence of cinema as a third space and a community experience. First of all, watching a movie in a cinema is a more social experience than we give it credit for. As Julian Hanich highlights in his book, I'll paraphrase, we have an etiquette that we follow, and our immersion can flow in and out as we are made conscious of our co-viewers. To some, this is terrible. To others, this is fantastic. To me, in a world where we're all so separated and cautious of one another, I enjoy and appreciate connecting with my fellow humans over a film in a way that each party would never be able to acknowledge. I will never speak to the strangers that laughed with me in the cinema, or the people who gasped when they saw something horrific, and they will likely never even think of me. But we were all there together. That being said, I am an extremely quiet audience member. I rarely laugh, scream, or sigh during a movie. I might quietly whisper something into the ear of the person I'm watching with, but that's about it. So since I've been thinking about this, I also wondered about my own impact on people's theatre going experience. Well, that pretty much does describe my impact. As much as I try to be quiet, it's entirely possible that someone sitting behind me got annoyed by me. Someone has definitely heard me rustle through my popcorn, and I know for a fact I've dropped snacks before. So my contribution to people's cinema experience surely hasn't all been positive. Although I rarely laugh or react to scary moments, I definitely do it more in the cinema, and especially more when there are more people. Watching the Backrooms, I caught myself adding to the chorus of decompressing sighs as we made it out of scary situations. In the book, Julian Hanich says, "We upregulate the affective experience," meaning we sort of subconsciously play up our reactions. We express more physically, not just for the audience or because of the audience, but for ourselves, our own enjoyment and our immersion. The hushed remarks, the nudges between friends, even the shushing of talkative audience members all inform the experience of going to the cinema. But even my worst experiences at the cinema are still largely good experiences that I don't regret. Ultimately, with movies regaining some of their appreciation from the public, we'll hopefully see stronger cinema-going habits and a stronger industry, which is great for us as audience members because it adds life and community to these experiences and might end up giving us better movies. Truly, cinema will outlive us all. The last thing I want to say is I appreciate this recent crop of movies, and the Backrooms especially. In South Africa, audiences don't typically applaud for movies. My fiancé and I do, quietly for each other but half jokingly. This was the first time, as far as I can remember, that I was part of an audience that actually wholeheartedly applauded a film, and I can't tell you how good that made me feel. I felt connected to the movie, and I felt connected to the community of moviegoers around me, as though we all agreed in unison, this was awesome. Other things that make the cinema feel more social are the online aspects of it. It's one thing to watch a movie over Discord with friends, but it's not quite the same. Platforms like Letterboxd give us room to really discuss these films, and it gives a little bit more importance to the act of going to the cinema. So things like Letterboxd are really great for the industry as well. Thanks for watching this little video. We're working on some bigger stuff now. The next video is going to be about whether or not Iron Lung survived adaptation, and then I'm hoping to make a big video on the Backrooms and all of the pieces of media that have a share in how it's perceived. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, you should subscribe so you can see it when it comes out. Thanks for watching the whole video. Bye!